Welcome to Comic Industry Insiders Live, the weekly broadcast where we talk through all the big things that are happening in comics. And honestly, we learn as we go. I will tell you, we have a very common saying around here. We don't do these things because they're easy. We do these things because we thought they were going to be easy. But we're getting it together. This week we have a bunch of really fantastic guests and that I am so looking forward to introducing you to, including cybersecurity professionals, including we have some people who we have Sean from Comics Pals is going to be returning to us. This is the part where we normally would be doing our pre-show banter, but we weren't able to get up and running until just like moments ago. So let's do an abbreviated pre-show banter. Is it vamping or are we actually talking? This is my partner in helping create so many of the things that we do at Prana, at Comics Magazine, at Rika Comics, Mr. Joe Keating.
It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
It's good to
a little
see
bit of a break there. Nice. I like the new intro. It's cool.
Yeah, right.
Fun and engaging. You know, it's I like it.
I know. Well, yeah. that was all Brian. He put the real work into that. And yeah, I mean, the goal here is to kind of we're kind of building from scratch in many ways and trying to rebuild the kind of the channel, the show that we really wanted it to be. So
yeah,
buddy.
Good.
It's good. Thanks for noticing that. How you doing this week? I'm sorry that like we're in the constant state of like of bailing water. It feels like these days. I don't know.
Yeah, and somehow our two biggest projects have aligned in terms of printing schedules.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know how that happens. We're just in a constant state of like we're approving 2 books this week.
Yeah, Comics and Magazine 4 and feature is number 14.
That's correct.
So,
listen, not bad. Not bad. I feel like we're doing some real work in getting that together. I want to introduce, if you don't mind, I'm going to bring somebody up for the pre-show banter. Just give him a chance. I know he's got a bunch of stuff he's doing on the back end, but this week we actually get an opportunity to meet a brand new member of the team, somebody who I've known for a very long time and is going to help us kind of pull together Comic Industry Insiders Live, along with working on a couple of other different projects with us. Friends and neighbors, you might know him from I don't know, when he was at Diamond Comics or when he's at Massive or at Starburns, or I don't know, he'll probably fill me in on what I missed. Our favorite Velociraptor is Trevor Richardson.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Do we have background on the Velociraptor thing, or is that just like a completely weird thing you just said?
Have you never heard that? All right. Joe, I feel like I've told this story so many times I never know where I'm telling it, but Trevor, when I first met him, he was our brand manager at Diamond Comics.
Oh, very good.
And he came in after we burned through 2 or 3 of them. And even I think we gave Caitlin McCabe so much chops that Image insisted on taking her full time. So they handed me, when they were taking away Caitlin, they said, "Here, we have a new one." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I gotta train another one." And they said, no, you're gonna like this guy. Anyway, so Trevor and I worked together for a while. We really got along well. Every time I came up with a crazy idea, he was either yes-anding my crazy idea, or he was like trying to figure out a way to solve it, or it was explaining why it wasn't an easy solve, right? Mm-hmm. And at one point, you know what? I'll let you take care of this. I haven't heard you tell this part of the story in a while.
I haven't had to tell it in a while because we know it. So Adam would call me and say, "I got a great idea," and I would always be like, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah, I know that call. Yeah.
And the thing was, the ideas really were always great, but it was like, oh man, the Diamond system is not as agile an animal as Adam wants it to be, and also the way he kind of functions, as we all know.
Yeah.
And so after a number of these, and me going like, okay, you're kind of prodding at that corner, you're prodding at that corner. I just kind of blurted out one day, you're like the velociraptor of comics. You're always testing the limitations of the cage. And then as soon as I said it, Adam, I don't know if I told you this part, I was like, oh, like, because we didn't know each other super well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I might have just insulted this guy, but I meant it as like the highest compliment of like, Adam cannot be contained. Like, you have to have the smartest cage possible because he'll find the weak point in the bars. And ever since then, like whenever we see each other, he brings it up. And so I was like, oh, thank you. Like,
I bring it up because it might have been the nicest thing anybody's ever said. I feel like, yeah.
And that was why we got along too, because I didn't take it as like, this guy's making my job hard. I didn't take it as like, well, you just stay in your lane, bro. It was never like that. It was just like, this guy, if of anybody I know, is the one who's kind of accelerating the way we're doing marketing and kind of getting me out of my comfort zone, especially because I was pretty new at the time. You know, I've been doing it like, I think less than a year when we met each other. And so, yeah, the yes and thing is the perfect way to put it. It was always just, I'm not going to say no to this guy. You can't say no to this guy, partially. And so I just took it on myself of like, I've got to figure out a way to make these ideas work. And they would evolve a lot. Like sometimes I'd come back and say, here's why your idea doesn't work, but let's, try these things instead. And that, I guess, was the secret to not getting burnt out by being Adam's brand manager. And yeah, that was over 10 years ago. So I guess I did something right because he doesn't hate me yet.
I'd love to just before we dive officially into this week's show, I'd love to get a feeling for, we asked you to come on and work with us. Obviously this team, we're doing a lot of different stuff. As Joe mentioned, this week, we're putting out The Future Is number 14.
14, I think.
14.
Whoa, I didn't know that. Cool.
Comic Industry Insiders number 4. Oh, I just is that what you were talking about?
Comics the Magazine number 4.
Comics the Magazine number 4. What did I say? I don't remember now.
Comics Industry Insiders. Which
yeah, okay.
Is also true.
Comics the Magazine number 4. We're also putting out an episode of Comics Industry Insiders and a live show all in the same week. I didn't realize till just now those two lined up. I see what you mean by that. I thought in fact they lined up in the same week, but now they're just like 10 issues apart. That's really fucking weird. Okay. Anyway, all this to say, you agreed to come on board. You're helping us out with a lot of crowdfunding. We have like 2 different active campaigns right now on the crowdfunding side. Where do you what made you want to take this particular job on?
There's so many answers to that question. One is I've been doing publishing and kind of freelance illustration for a while now, and I just sort of felt ready for a slightly different way into the industry, so doing graphics instead of trying to do the grind of like pumping out enough covers, for instance, to pay the bills, or going to other random jobs, as any artist will attest. Like comics is often not enough to pay the bills, so you're doing whatever other kind of stuff you can find. And I kind of just wanted one thing I could focus on and do really well. And then sort of ironically, teaming up with you guys actually is already becoming like, here's a whole bunch of 50 different things you can do, but under this one umbrella. But that really appeals to me because in publishing, whether I intended to or not, I always ended up as the I'll figure it out guy, or, oh, we need that cover really fast, let me draw that variant, just kind of, you once you use the term Swiss Army knife, and I kind of like, I took that to heart. I was like, that's kind of what I like to be. I used to tell some of my other publishing partners, if this company were the Enterprise, I'm not trying to be Kirk, I'm not trying to be Spock, I want to be Scotty. I want to be the guy in the bowels of the ship just figuring crap out, And so when Adam hit me up, I was like, this is a chance to be a really good Scotty, I think, I hope, so yeah, that's my blanket answer. There's way more to it than that, of course, but yeah.
I love it. Well, we are our goal here with Comic Industry Insiders Live is to talk about the big stories of the week and to try and teach and educate. And, actually all of us, we're going to be testing the fences together. So Trevor, thanks so much for doing that. Brian, do we have a thumbs up yet or what? Are we ready to go? No? Oh, I got a finger up. The finger is not a thumbs up.
Oh, the finger is up.
Boy, oh boy. All right. Well, okay. In that case, can you talk just a little bit about, you've been in publishing a long time, Joe and Joe as well. You guys, where do you think our show, when you think about this, and I swear this is not just me vamping, I'm really actually curious about your answer about this. It's a little bit of me vamping. Where do you see the progress of comics, right? So the comics industry is on a path. Things are changing. And so the question becomes, how does this how can we contribute to that? How can we accelerate the changes that are good on this show? What do you think that we should be focusing on? Trevor, you're going to be in the driver's seat. Joe, you as always are going to be one of our consulting people on everything we good to go. Everything we good to go. I'm just reading somebody else's phrase. But what do you think, Joe? Let's start with you.
Sure.
When you look at the way where comics is progressing, how do you think this show can really contribute?
Yeah, so I think it's similar to the magazine in the sense of being the what do we call it? The magazine of record is what we keep calling CTM. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like I think people, it's very easy. I think we've all had the experiences to get like lost in the weeds or lost, not seeing the forest from the trees when it comes to what's going on in the industry. And so having a place where we can actually talk about what the path behind us has been and what the path forward can be. And I also think providing a place to do that, like, how do I say this? Actually have a conversation. You know what I mean? And like,
right.
not be the hyperbole of either side. You know what I mean? Whatever the issue is. I mean, there's been a couple things. I don't want to spoilers for future topics on the show, but that we've talked about, Adam, offline. There's a lot of offline conversations that aren't happening online, and this is the place to bring those.
Yeah.
To reality. So
I agree with that.
That's a really good answer.
Awesome. What about you, Trev?
Ditto. No, I'm just kidding. The thing, sorry, I was just dropping something in the deck for us. The thing that I look forward to the most, the thing that I was sort of jealously from afar looking at Comics the Magazine and the shows that you guys are doing is just, and Adam and I, we've talked about this pretty much every time we see each other, is the lack of data, the lack of education, and kind of just this feeling that all the different parts of the industry are sort of in like a dark room shouting at each other, but nobody is really coming together in the middle. Nobody's like really flicked a light on and said, here's what's going on, And so there's always this feeling of like, why is there so much guesswork to this? Why is everything treated like a mystery? I have my opinions and my answers that I won't say right now, but it's the potential of this being kind of a gathering place for information and for personalities that interested me and excited me.
Awesome. I love this particular question in the chat. You should stay tuned. If our special guest for this conversation, it shows up, and things are still we're kind of pulling this plane together as it's already taken off. But if he shows up, you're gonna enjoy having the conversation. So stick around. Awesome. All right, Joe, Trevor, thank you for stepping in for this abbreviated pre-show banter, and I know I'll be talking to both of you soon.
Great. Thanks, Adam.
Sounds good, man.
Okay, so here we go. Let's start it off properly, shall we? It's Comic Industry Insiders Live, a weekly podcast where we get to know the people behind the scenes of the comic book industry, where we look at the big headlines and we try and bring, as Trevor said, some of the data, some of the learnings, some of the conversations that are happening behind the scenes. We're bringing them to the foreground. We have, as always, my co-host, the guy who's actually pulling this plane together after I've already lifted it off, Mr. Brian Garside.
I thought I wasn't going to do this anymore. I thought I wasn't going to have to do this part anymore.
We're getting close. We're training a Trevor. It takes a minute to train a Trevor. Have you ever tried training a Trevor?
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, no, it's been a week. My wife went away on Saturday to Scotland, and I've been like trying to hold the place together, and like she's not around, so she can't hear this. But
yeah,
it turns out she does a lot of things to just hold the place together.
I won't tell her.
Let's keep that between us, because that's serious leverage she has. So I'd like to not let her know.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate, how this came together, and granted, I think, if I wasn't putting 2 books to bed and you weren't having to put 2 kids to bed, we
No, my kids are
probably
too
would
old for
be in a much different position this week. But listen, we're getting it together, and this week will be better than last week, and the next week will be even better.
Every week is just a treat. Every week's a treat.
Let's get into the deck. What's going on, man?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Yeah,
we're doing this. Look at this.
So this week, our topic is what the F is wrong with the internet.
Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit on this? Because the people are probably,
I do. Yeah. I do. So listen, I don't know if it's up to you, if you guys have noticed, but this is something that I've noticed personally. Here's the thing. Later on in the show, we're going to have an interview that I did this morning with a man named John Strand, who is legitimately an expert in cybersecurity. He consults with governments. He consults with Fortune 50 companies. He and his company, they train cybersecurity. And he told me a story a little while ago about how AI was affecting the entire infrastructure, of the internet. Right. It is like the whole thing is kind of based on a few programs, and AI suddenly is seeing exploits. It's seeing weaknesses in those programs. And so everything is slowing down. And all the customer service is slowing down. We were talking to somebody, a mutual friend of ours who runs some software. He says, I'm sorry, everything is slow this week because we're dealing with all of these outages, because we're dealing with the extra customer service, the extra security. And this got me to thinking, we're all dealing with this right now. So it might be time to understand why and understand what, if anything, we can be doing about it. That's the real challenge. So.
Yeah, there was a massive exploit on cPanel, which is kind of an underpinning thing that supports a vast majority of the internet. So it's like a kind of like a dashboard that you use to spin up different services. It's really simplifying what it does, but
yeah,
it touches all kinds of different pieces, and like a lot of it got compromised. And this kind of stuff is happening faster and more regular than ever before. And there's going to be a point where you can just train AIs to go out and find exploits, and when the bad guys start doing that, then the good guys are going to have to double down on fixing those problems twice as fast. Good times.
Well, we get into a lot of that with John, so it's a long video, but it is coming. It's a nice little segment in the middle where we're going to talk. I talked to John about what the effects are and what it's likely to look like over the long term, and why he's not heading for. Well, he does live in the hills. He does head for the hills, but why it doesn't keeps him coming back. So, yeah.
That's the thing. Like it's a period of great change. And I feel like Gen X in particular, we've gone through periods of great change multiple times in our lives, right?
Yeah.
And this is just kind of de rigueur to us now. But yeah, like it's huge train, but it's also like super optimistic. Like there's things happening right now at every level that are so fascinating and so interesting. And if you just put the blinders on and say all AI is bad, it is exactly like the dinosaurs 30 years ago who said all internet is bad. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to be open. And the other thing is the genie's out of the bottle with this stuff. We can't just put it back in. And if we do, bad actors are going to keep on playing with it. And
that's correct.
So we've got to get in front of it.
And I think it gives you a little bit of hope. I don't want to talk to. Actually, let's see the rundown because we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we haven't even got to the good part yet. So I guess we're gonna start with some headlines.
Yeah, we'll also do some headlines. Then we're going to talk about what the fuck happened to the internet. That didn't make it to this slide. Listen, it's all coming together. Then we're going to get into the bestseller list. Not only are we going to do this last week's bestsellers, but we're also going to do all of April. For the first time, we're going to give you a month's look. And there's some real surprises on that market share report. I really enjoyed seeing that one. I don't know what this Let's Get Chatty thing is, but we're going to get into even more.
I think that may be from previous
last week.
things.
I think so.
We'll talk about it. Why don't we just jump right into the headlines instead?
All right, good. I think we also added in a couple of headlines too.
Yeah, we did. We've got a bunch of extra stuff.
Jonathan Hickman. come on. Is this
You know
guy
what's
going to
hilarious?
finally make Marvel relevant? Is that going to
Yeah.
happen? Is relevancy on the horizon?
I saw this. I've seen this headline a couple times this week, but I actually sat down and like really read about it last night, and it sounds really fascinating. Of course, the naysayers are always like Marvel's copying Absolute because it's dark, blah blah blah. But it looks like an actual horror take on
Yeah.
Marvel, and that's always been the one thing Marvel has always done really really well. Like right back to the dawn of Marvel is scary books, right? Like Man Thing, Werewolf by Night, Dracula, all that stuff. It's in their DNA, and I think having one of arguably the greatest comic writers of our generation playing in that sandbox. I mean, look what he did with Ultimates, and it was nobody expected it to do as well as it did. And I think, yeah, I would never bet against Jonathan Hickman, and I certainly think this is an interesting idea at the very least.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking forward to seeing this, and I'm also hopeful that, we keep saying it with DC doing as well as it is. If Marvel can figure it out, man, they're really going to have we're going to have quite the year. It'd be nice. It would be nice. It'd be nice if this is kind of takes that off.
Yeah, 100%. And like, yeah, they're due a hit, right?
Yeah, exactly. They got to get this together now. All right, so this was really good. Our friends at ICV2 did a little roundup of all the POS systems on the market, and we learned a lot about the big four. And since you are one of those four, what was your big takeaway from that article?
It was interesting. I liked seeing kind of people's numbers. I liked seeing that one particular company was very evasive and gave a lot of very pat answers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool to see what everyone's doing. I kind of know that's my job to know what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
I kept on getting texts from people that are like, "Whoa, you're like hands down the winner." And I'm like, it's not a win-lose game. It's just because we're platform agnostic, we're obviously going to have more people interested in us. And when we weren't, we had a much smaller pie, but we were also drafting off of the largest e-commerce solution in the world, Shopify. So of course, but yeah, like I welcome all competition. And one of these days, one or two of those will use comic previews, and we'll all just be part of one big happy family.
A few little pieces. I will say they went through. It's a really great. I'm actually going to drop the story into our chat here, just so that everybody can kind of keep up with what they're talking about. Excellent. They were incredibly invasive. I hate to hearing that. That's not good. Yeah, I will say that there's a lot to learn in here. I think that you can kind of see the difference between the different systems on, whether they're web-based or, Comic Hub being a desktop, Comic Shop Assistant being fully on the cloud, Managed Comics being on the cloud and web. Like the fact that you guys break everything down and are, what are you involved in? What does it need to be? What decisions do you have to let your POS system make for you, and which ones are you making for yourself? Those are all very specific questions retailers need. I absolutely love that they put this together. And I'm with you. I think that the especially the user numbers, it was interesting to me to see who was being very specific and who was kind of rounding it out.
Yeah.
I thought that was my biggest takeaway was, I feel like if you're being specific, you're being honest. If you're rounding your numbers, who knows what the numbers are? You're probably not rounding down. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what? If people are interested in learning more about Managed Comics,
look at you with the CTA.
This Thursday at 2 p.m., we're introducing my new sidekick, Max, not my son Max, my sidekick Max, who will be coming on the stream to talk. And we're going to also show off the next generation of Managed Comics, which is called Managed Comics Omni, and it will be rolling out way sooner than you think. So if you want to check that stuff out, come see us on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. What's that? 11 a.m. Pacific, and check out what we can do.
And we had, before we get into this next story, I just want to put out the call. Listen, we have Brian from Managed Comics, co-host of the show. That doesn't mean on a regular basis we have the folks from Comic Shop Assistant in there, and at least one of them was the first one in the chat today. So yeah, we're real friendly with them. Comic Hub, Comic Knowledge, y'all should come on the show. Seriously, come on and let's discuss the differences, because I think retailers do need to know what are the assets, what are the liabilities, what are the choices that you're making, what is the provider going to be doing for you, what do you have to do for yourself, all those things, right? It's
absolutely. I 100% agree. And like, I don't see any of us as competition, really. Like, every one of us is a different flavor.
That's true.
And some people want to work with the commodity products like that, the Lightspeeds and the Shopifys. Some people want the custom apps. We're not going to be able to change your dashboard because you want your dashboard to be different. Like, your Shopify dashboard's your Shopify dashboard. So if that stuff's really important to you, then absolutely, one of those systems is going to be right for you. And I guarantee you, one of the 4 systems is going to be better than using your pen and paper to manage 200 subscriptions.
200 subscriptions and cycle sheets and all of the others.
And 100 variants for Batman. What?
100 plus variants for Batman. There's this
Absolute
great
Batman
reel, by the
20,
way.
right?
There's this great reel about Batman 20. Yeah. And the guy says, I've got 100 copies of Batman. I think he's implying he has all of them. And he says, and I'm just going to pull it up and I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to flip through until we get to a page that has something bonkers on it. And it's page 3. Fantastic. Anyway, did not tell the story. We see the story this week. I think it was even Rich Johnson who broke this, that there was something like 113 variants out for Batman. Now, these are exclusive variants for the most part. These are retailer exclusives, and they are the kind of thing that, it sounds big, it sounds crazy, but in many ways, I think they're kind of healthy. And we had somebody, if you want to hit that next slide, I saw on Instagram once again. We lost him. Let's go back. Did we do one more? What? No, actually, go back. Go forward one. I think we got to do that in order. Here we go. Marcus, Not So Funny Books on Instagram and on TikTok. Marcus has been doing a fantastic job of breaking down some of the things that he thinks are important in our industry and some of the things that people might not see. I will tell you many times, every time I look at his stuff, I go, I want to jump in there and talk to him. But that's exactly how I got to know you, was listening to the Data Bros podcast and going, you guys are a little bit off. Anyway, love this guy so much. And you can go backwards one. He put together this infographic about the Batman Absolute and agreed to come on the show. Marcus, welcome to Comic Industry Insiders Live.
Whoa.
Hi. How's it sound? You got me all right?
It sounds great. I've been listening to your reels so much. Hearing your voice coming out of this is very strange. So there you go.
The fact that anybody cares about anything I have to say at any point sounds incredibly strange. And Brian and I actually met because I should have taken a cut of this, but I was basically convincing my comic shop to get Managed Comics because it was just driving me absolutely crazy. Now, he was doing a good job, like in his own right, but sometimes I wonder if comic book shops are allergic to money when it comes to the way that they like manage and operate their business. But I appreciate all of that. And thanks for showcasing our little foster cat, Janet, who's this 15-year-old ball of fire that was displaced during no pun intended, during the fires last year in Altadena. And she now lives with us. It's kind of our little senior home. So she is a very kind of grumpy little thing, but we have a bit of a rapport. So my wife says we're basically kind of the same. She's like, but thanks, man. I really enjoy this. And Brian, obviously I'm a big fan. We talked in this very backyard tough shed like a year and a half ago before my local shop kind of switched over.
Right.
And I've been following the bouncing ball, from, things I see in the shop. And I very much remember the day where I picked out a I was telling him he was kind of leaving money on the table, and he was like, how do you know? You don't know anything about retail comic. It is a nice guy, but that's basically what he's saying. And I don't have a lot of superpowers. I mean, people should know, like, I am not an industry insider. I am an outsider looking in. But I basically, like, the Army kind of trained me to do that. You got to change jobs every 3 years. You've got to go through these like wild transitions, to include transitioning out of the military. And then I became a technological consultant, and I work with, you know, many of the hyperscalers every day. So I know just enough to be dangerous. But I also know that many people don't look past like the surface layer, because it gets really hard once you start to do that. And Brian, for someone that sells multi-million dollars worth of, you know, technology every year, or multiple millions of dollars, you're absolutely right. The AI genie has left the bottle. It guides what we do. It is a great way to scrape data, which is where
very true.
You get some of these insights, right? And yeah, no infographic is perfect, but one of the things that like Gemini Pro is very, very good at is creating a pretty cool infographic from almost nothing, based on an idea that you have and a thesis that you provide. And that's really all I'm doing. I get a lot of like, there's going to be pushback. I'm going to say things that are maybe, you know, semantically incorrect or whatever. But at least we're having the conversation, because there's, I think, a little bit too much black box when it comes to some of this stuff. There's a lot of, I think, retailer gatekeeping themselves. And I appreciate Brian's attitude about, like, you know, I'm not like, I'm in competition, but I'm not. I mean, it's not like you don't want every comic book shop in America to go with managed comics, but the more that we're
I literally don't. Like, there's a lot of them that would just be a help nightmare, because they work in a way that doesn't make sense to my brain. So you got to work with the brain that works with you, right? So
I 100%. I totally agree. So it's been a lot of fun.
So let's dig into this. You obviously you've been creating some content around the comics industry, around the kind of the stories that we talk around here, but like really nobody is doing in that format that you're doing right now, which is why it stands out so much. It's why we see Rob Liefeld in there. We saw you posted that, like, you know, Scott Snyder starts following you. There's a reason that this has resonated so much. Is because it's so rare at this point for anybody to be talking about the actual mechanics of these kinds of things. It's so much easier to have a big splashy headline and then just go, well, this is wrong. So let's talk about this. And then I'd love for you to kind of expound on where your thesis that this is exactly what comics needs now. But let's talk about the infographic itself. So this is for Absolute Batman number 20. You said 115 plus. Is there an actual, is that the real number, or what did you find?
That's what I could find at the time. And thank God for like the 2 or 3 informational sources that are out there, like one of which is Bleeding Cool, right? That actually like documented this stuff. And then all I did was essentially do the math on what they put out there as what they knew were confirmed retailer variants. I'll bet you that number's 125 now. It'll probably be 130 by the time it's
very well
all,
could be. Yeah.
So surprise me at all.
We're looking at the tell me what we're looking at here. So obviously you've talked here about this speculator bubble, right?
Yeah.
And why this is not that.
Yeah. And so it started with the thesis. I'll be honest with you. I like to be a resident contrarian in a lot of ways. And it started with the thesis that this is the 90s all over again, or a counter thesis to this is a 90s all over again. This is a speculator bubble. It's going to pop, and we're all going to be left holding the bag, and then the industry is going to collapse. Okay, so I'm gonna pull that apart a little bit and go, all right, if that's the case, first of all, what were the conditions in the 90s? That's a whole separate like podcast, right? We can talk about that.
Sure.
But the fact is, it's different, and what, at least from what I can see in the data and what I believe, which is an important caveat about what types of consumers are entering the different like buckets of the industry, right? So I did the math on how many exclusives are actually out there. And I started with the thesis that I actually think variants are good for the comic book industry overall, right? And yes, a little bit of that is, listen, if you're not making a definitive statement, nobody is going to watch you make any kind of thesis
Sure.
whatsoever.
Sure.
If you sit on the fence, you get splinters in your butt, as my English professor used to say, right?
Yeah.
So I started with that thesis and was like, okay, what is really going on here, and what would it take for the industry to actually collapse? And then in short, what I kind of felt like I was seeing was that in the 90s, the speculator market was the market. It was the publishers, it was the big 2 and 3 or whatever, like pumping these things out. And there was no like, visceral distinction between what the publishers were doing and what people were investing in, right? And I think that's frankly what some of the card market is going through right now. And even Gary Vee himself, like at top, said that, he was concerned that speculation was too much of the market. So I wanted to do the math. And so my thesis here is that if you do the math on all of the exclusives and variants, it darn near matches what I would say is a predictable print run. If we go back and look at AB number 15, I think the print run was like 300,000 first print. I think you have to be smoking something to think that DC wasn't like, we could probably do 400 as we introduce, Mecha Robins or like whatever they are, right? They know exactly what they're doing right now, in my opinion. So the overall number that you see in the top right might be perhaps underselling it a little bit in terms of total print run, but I wanted to compare the two. And then you can see like what a total percentage of the industry that is, right? So you're not going to collapse the industry with like exclusive variants. There's just not really like enough to do that. And then you look at where in that middle bar chart there, I really wanted to break down who is actually running these exclusive variants. And there's a little bit of gray area in there because sometimes it's hard to tell. Listen, I don't have time to go in and verify like exactly which shop is a completely online versus like having an online personality. And so you have to, this is where you get into like, if you talk about absolutes, no pun intended, the internet will like roast you alive. But for the most part, this is largely representative of where these exclusives are coming from. And I think it supports my thesis in that like, your brick and mortar comic book shop is not living and dying by the AB number 20 Robin special exclusive variant that they're selling. And I would also submit that I don't think that the person that is buying a $1,500 Dan Quintana variant is taking away the money that he's going to be spending on his pool list, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of this kind of zero-sum game because, humans love heuristics and we want the simple answer and we want to go, hey, if this, then that, and the sky is falling, et cetera, et cetera. But the reason that I put it in this bubble is that I think, number one, the numbers are small enough to where if you completely nuked what the exclusive variants like are, if you just deleted them like Thanos, right? Like, then it's not enough to like shake the industry. You could make an argument that the industry will find another way to find that cash, and they probably will.
We always do. Yeah.
They always do. But at the same time, I don't think it's enough to nuke it. And I also don't believe that those that are investing that kind of money in, the David Mack Catwoman foil virgin, variant is like, oh no, now I don't have enough money to go, buy the regular issue of Absolute Batman so you can read it. I think those are two different customer personas. Mm-hmm. I don't have like, I would have to do a massive survey. I'm considering doing like comic book shop surveys to see if I could actually sort of tease that out to kind of understand the consumer a little bit better. But I just, for the most part, the data is kind of saying like, you are a million% speculating if you're saying this is going to collapse the industry because it's different than the 90s and you don't have a lot of data to support that. There's way more data to support that it's its own little thing. Yeah. And frankly, it doesn't shock me that like, J. Scott Campbell and Gary Vee were like, yeah, because I mean, J. Scott Campbell is that like how he makes his living, right? Is like
very true.
Like this, I was like, well, that's not shocking. Of course, you're like, oh, variants are good for comics. Of course they are. They're definitely good for you.
Yeah.
But it definitely presents some really interesting data when you start to pick it apart. And like sneak preview of something that, I just kind of did the math on is that, Marvel's in third place right now. If you take into account DC being number one, Absolute Batman Effect, we know what that is. The second place is the aggregate of everything that is not Marvel. And that's, from what I can see, is the first time that that has happened. Individual issues, yes. As a share of the market, not that I can see.
I would argue we're gonna stick around. You may not have seen our show, but we do a market share report every week. And this week we're actually going to be talking about Marvel. I mean, we're talking about the month of April. And Marvel had 30, I don't want to, be a spoiler, but 37% of the market. Now, granted, that's not nearly, if you add, DC's at 37.5 and Image is at 15 and on and all the way down. But what I'm saying is that it would be, I could see how you would argue that they're number 3, but that's just
for Q1.
Oh, for Q1.
So for Q1, if you go through Q1 and let me tell, the one thing I do know is how big multi-billion-dollar businesses kind of think. And one, I work for one, and two, we consult for them like all the time.
Yeah,
those numbers are absolutely concerning for a Q1 downtrend. Yeah. And I've got a whole thesis on that as well. But yeah, it was interesting to me to pull apart these numbers and see, where I thought the concern was or wasn't.
I think that's interesting too, because Marvel's not doing as many of these exclusive variants as like some of the other companies like Image and Dynamite in particular are doing. So yeah, I've been on a bunch of the Facebook groups because I was
Brian, you're really echoing there, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know why, because I'm not even Anyway, on a bunch of these Facebook groups. Just a second. I'm gonna try something.
It's all right.
I'm not sure if it's me. I think it might be Marcus that's echoing right now.
Okay.
So yeah, a bunch of these Facebook groups, and this is, like Marcus said, like an entirely different group of people that are the things that they complain about in terms of printing defects where the claw has touched a comic, and they complain about handling defects and things like a fingerprint on a foil cover. It's a different subset than what we're used to. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Well, Marcus, we are going to run really tight on time. Thank you, because we've had some technical issues this week. We're actually going to make some changes. I'd love to have you back on. I've loved your perspective on the reels that you're doing. At some point, I think we need to get into a longer conversation, because if anybody who loves data is our kind of people. So we're always happy to add to our quiver.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody. It's been honestly, like, the good side of the internet, I have to say, has far outweighed the bad side, and it's been pretty cool, like, the response, because yeah, you're right. I did this of my own accord because my kids were like, "You're passionate, you should talk about it, and it's good for you. It's a little bit of a creative outlet." And then, to finally kind of hit on something that I thought was personally interesting, and people are like, "Yeah, keep going." So yeah, I'll keep going. And I'm going to be wrong. I'm not trying to predict the future. I'm just trying to prove out thesis and maybe teach a little media literacy along. Awesome. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet.
Awesome.
Thanks, Marcus, and keep it up, man. You're one of my favorite reasons to open Instagram these days. So
hey, that's cool. Thanks, man.
Enjoy. All right. So let's move on. We have a lot of show, and I'm realizing we're probably gonna have to cut that big video, or maybe we'll put it at the end. How about that? We'll just drop it.
Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's dig into, but we are going to be talking about cybersecurity this week. And we've talked about cybersecurity before, but this week we're going to dig into why it's so hard to deal with, why the AI is taking over our lives and what that is. At the end of this show, we're going to run a long form video conversation with John Strand, who was the founder of Black Hills Information Security. He is also he's basically the wallet, the person who has sponsored Rekka Comics. But I want to bring to the stage somebody without whom Rekka Comics would not exist. And in many ways, Prana would be a completely different thing. This live show probably wouldn't exist without this guy. Let's pull up his slide real quick. You want to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What
And so
the heck is wrong with that?
this is Jason Blanchard. Jason is now runs Not Occult Consulting. I don't know if I got that right. He is also the co-founder of Recca Comics and somebody I deal with on a regular basis. Jason is as a regular to the show, so I'm happy to bring him back. Jason Blanchard, where did you go? You were just here a moment
You just hit
ago.
him.
There you go. All right. Did I touch him?
Yeah.
Shouldn't touch buttons.
Yeah,
Whatever.
you shouldn't touch buttons.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Jason. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm in a car. I'm getting ready to go play Dungeons and Dragons, and I used AI to help me build my character and come up with my name and everything else. So
No doubt. Well, I wanted to get you on because I wanted to let you be able to leave the car. Plus, if you have a hacker in a van somewhere, I think that you gotta take advantage of that, dude.
anytime I sit outside of a building on a laptop and I'm just sitting here, like I'm just waiting for security, and the fact that they don't come, I'm like, come on, guys.
You drop a business card off in their lobby. Hey, just letting you know, I was outside for 2 hours.
Yeah, I've been dropping USB keys out in the yard, in the drive. Just waiting for someone to go plug it in.
I'm just gonna go put some QR codes in the men's room just to see what happens.
Yeah.
As I said, we talked to John. We did have a long conversation, and I think it's really good. But as with anything, John is so fascinating. It was hard to edit down, so it's going to be a longer one that we're going to drop at the end of this conversation. But I wanted to take a moment just to bring you on and reiterate some of the things that we've been saying. Now, my guess is a lot of what you're going to be saying is the stuff that we had at Comics Pro and the stuff we put into various books. But when you talk to people about how to keep your own businesses, your own small business, your own personal information safe, what are the big recommendations that you have, and how are you freaking out? Are you ready to run to the hills?
So the standard answer I always give is that it takes me 3.5 months to walk from my house to Michigan, which is from Maryland to Michigan. I know what that walking path is. I have the supplies to get me from there to there. It should only take 28 days, but I'm taking my 20-year-old daughter with me, which will take an extra 3 months.
Okay.
And so
Your wife's
thrown. Shade thrown.
Yeah. So like, yes. Am I freaking out? Sure. Is it a cumulative freak out? Yes. Do you just live with it? For sure.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's part of it. I think
it's so much better.
I think that's one of the things I've learned in hanging out with you cyber, security folks, you hacker folk, is that there's all of you have this sort of like delight in how tenuous everything is. Like you start talking, just get a twinkle in your eye of like, oh yeah, we're on the edge of catastrophe. Well, why is that fun?
Well, so whenever someone's talking about, Brian, like point of sale systems and market share and all this, you're like, that's awesome when we have electricity. That's fantastic. Let's talk about all that stuff when you don't have to worry about where your food's coming from. Like, that's great. Like, those are awesome to have problems. So cool. That's fun. Let's talk about that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this stuff since the 90s, late 90s. And so, yeah, I've run through, I was there for Y2K, and I know why Y2K wasn't the issue it should have been, right? Because we actually did a thing. Weird. And it worked. But I've also lived through a raccoon getting in a transformer in upstate New York and taking out the power grid on the East Coast for 3 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. And that's when you learn that, oh, I should carry cash, because there's a point where society doesn't have cash sometimes. So it's scary.
Yeah, what I've heard recently is that prior to 5 years ago, the biggest danger to the United States power grid was squirrels. Now it's China. So like 5 years ago, squirrels. Now China.
Now it's China and squirrels.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So I think I understand what you're saying. But so when you talk to people like myself, people who are, you know, maybe a little less adept at the technology, and we're so used to technology, what are your recommendations for preparing? And should we all be plotting out the route to Michigan and packing a go bag that will
And
get us
where
there?
in Michigan exactly?
So first, yes, having 3 days worth of food in your house, always a good thing. Having 3 months of food in your house, even better. But let's just get to like the practical things. So practical thing number one is to have a 15 character password. That's number one. 15 character password is excessive on purpose, because when you say something like a 15 character password, everything inside of you goes, that's too long. And the answer is it's not. My password's 25 characters long and it's not a problem. It is 3 words together with a combination of numbers in that, that combination. And so I can do a 25 character password pretty easily. I remember it every time I type in to get into my computer. It's never a problem. The only time it's a problem is if I got a sticky key on my keyboard, and then you're like, oh, damn sticky key. Other than that, not a problem. So if you have a financial account or an account that your business relies on, which is your social media accounts or anything like that, then you have a unique password for each one of those things. And the reason why you have a unique password for each one of those is because if you get compromised here, are you going to get compromised everywhere? Or if you're just going to get compromised here, it kind of keeps it contained into that one sphere. You're like, okay, so my bank account got compromised, but not everything else. Or my social media account got compromised, but not my bank account. And so you're creating some separation between what an attacker can do, because the attacker is smart and they're getting smarter. But the other thing is that attackers go to attacker school. Like, the opportunity to learn to be an attacker has escalated. So, there's people on the internet that teach other people how to do a point of sale system. There's also people on the internet that teach other people how to be criminals. Ransomware gangs is a real thing. It is a gang of people who gang together to do cyber crime. There are people, and if you've ever seen it when someone's Facebook account gets compromised and you see that they're compromised, and then you enter into the comments, hey, don't respond to this. And then all of a sudden you are swarmed with like 15 other people that are coming at you, because it's a gang. It's a literal gang of people who've gotten together, who've decided to do cybercrime. And the one thing I know about comic book stores is they love you because you have all the stuff they want.
Mm.
Comics, you have the cards, you have the collectibles, you have all that. And so they are criminals and they love what you have. And they won't just steal from your store, because that's not the thing that I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of them stealing your entire bank account. And they do it through a SIM swap attack where they take over your phone number. And then once they take over your phone number account, then they change your two-factor authentication to all your things, to your email account. Then they change your bank account information. And then they wire your savings out of your bank account within the next 15 to 20 minutes. And you've lost your entire savings in about 4 hours.
I don't want to do that, Jason. How do I keep from doing that?
All right. So 15 character password, right?
Uh-huh.
So 15 character password for your most important accounts. That is 3 words together with a couple of numbers. It is really easy to get at 15 characters. So think of it this way. A 6-character password can be cracked in 2 seconds. A 6-character password, if you currently have a 6-character password, takes 2 seconds. A 7-character password takes 2 hours. A 8-character password takes 2 days. A 9-character password takes 9 years or 2 years. A 10-character password takes 200 years. There's this escalating mathematical formula that is about to be completely obliterated when quantum computers become a thing. And then you're like, never mind. No need for passwords. We're going to retina scans only.
Right.
But other than that, so multi-factor authentication. Every time you want to get into one of your accounts, you should have multi-factor authentication where it either sends you a phone number or like the code to your phone. And here's the thing that scammers do. They're like, hey, I want to make sure you're really who you say you are to buy this thing. So I'm going to send you a 6-character password or 6-character number. Let me know that it's you. And then you respond with that. And then all of a sudden your Facebook account's taken over. And they're now selling fake items to your Facebook marketplace. So 15-character password, 2-factor authentication. And here's the main thing, because I know we're running out of time for my segment here. And I don't want to just come in, scare everyone, and leave. But the main thing is that the more convenient you make banking, it's more convenient it is for the attackers. So add some inconvenience to your life, which creates a massive amount of inconvenience for people who want to take your stuff.
Cool. Thank you, Jason. Seriously, buddy. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And what's the name of your D&D character that you're about to go play?
Jazrick Hallowmane. Jazwick Hallow.
Good luck with that.
Jazrick Hallowbane.
How would people think about finding you if they really want to get involved in not occult consulting?
I'm on LinkedIn. So
there you go.
Yeah, just find me on LinkedIn, and people are like, people use LinkedIn? Yeah, lots of them. It's awesome.
Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate you. We're gonna stick and move this week. Let's actually skip that story that we have up on the screen, and we can move on to let's just do that one.
You're not moving on past this, pal.
Baby.
You're gonna pimp.
You want to hear? You want to know why classifieds are so important? I'm gonna tell you why right now. This is really important. Pay attention. Classifieds are the thing that kept society together, and when we lost them, we lost our government. We lost culture. We lost the whole goddamn thing. Seriously, think about it. There was a time all your you wanted to get a roommate, you wanted to buy a couch, you went to the classifieds. Or you wanted to sell a couch, you went to the classifieds. You put a classified ad, and then one of your neighbors would find it. And you know what you would do? You pick up a local newspaper and you read about local news, and you read about a little bit about government, about the big government, and about the national news, world news, but mostly you were learning about local news. And then Craigslist came along, and you stopped placing classified ads. You started going to Craigslist. You started going to Facebook Marketplace. And then what did you do? You started just watching national news all the time. You didn't watch any local news. You were no longer associated with your neighbor. Now all you talk about is who is the president and who's in Congress. And the whole thing falls apart, all because you stopped getting classified ads. Classified ads, ladies and gentlemen. It's the way of the future. It's the way of the past. It's really the only way to talk to 50,000 comics fans every month. How about that for $20?
Let's talk about the fact that classifieds 100% unhackable. You cannot hack a classified.
You goddamn right.
So, on his way to Michigan, I guarantee you, Jason's going to grab a bunch of classified ads because they're unhackable.
No doubt at all.
Number 2, the internet is a scary place. There are an infinite number of ads. You know where there's not an infinite number of ads, Adam? On a classified page. Magazine. There's a finite amount of classifieds you can have there. There's only one page of them. You want to be seen? $20? Are you serious? Like, this should be literally 10 times that. But I'm not going to tell you how to do business.
Listen,
we heard earlier some people are allergic to making money, and maybe you're one of them. I don't know. But if you're not spending $20 on a classified ad, we're not friends, honestly. So
Comics the Magazine. Number 4 just went to press. Number 3 is on the shelves. You should be subscribing if you're already not. And $20. Get in front of 50,000 comics fans. Yeah. All right.
Do it.
Let's dig into some bestseller lists. This show, we're just gonna
everybody's favorite part.
So dense. I love this part. This is the Prana bestseller list. This is a project we've been working on for many years now through our partnership with Managed Comics and Comic Shop Assistant. What up, Jeff? We have access to 80,000 plus consumers, 600 plus stores, as has been corroborated by ICB2 in that story we talked about. All the stores are anonymized. All their data is anonymized. We put it together. We come up with some ideas of what it is. Now, before we go into what why this week's list is so interesting, I have to introduce somebody who I am so excited is on the show. If you've never watched the Comics Pals I don't know what you're doing with your Saturday mornings, but I promise you they're completely wasted. This next guest is one of three. These guys do an amazing job of talking about comics. It's so dynamic. It's so much fun. They have built such an intense community. I cannot tell you how excited I was. And the last time, I think the one time that we really did the bestseller list right, we had Sean on. So we invited him back. Sean, welcome to the show. I pushed the button. There you go.
Hey, thank you guys for having me so much. I love this show. I love this channel. I love these gentlemen. And I love comics. So I can't wait to talk about comics with these gentlemen on this channel. Let's do it.
Dude, you know why this week is so different?
Tell me.
This is a first week that we've been reporting on weekly sales data now for several months, right? This is our first week where we've actually had the opportunity to report on a month of sales. And why is that difficult? There's some database issues that made this difficult, but I will tell you, getting this report is part of what incited the thesis for this week's show. Was the data we actually had a harder time pulling the data because of all the slowdowns that are happening on internet and security. So that all of that brought around the theme of the show, and we finally have figured it out. April issue are in this. So this is all for single issue sales. We're gonna deal with last week. Let's bring up the deck, shall we? Let's see this. We'll see the market share. So this is for last week's market share. Marvel once again finally taking back their top spot. Sean, are you still with us? Did we lose you? Add to the stage. There we go.
I may have. Yeah,
that's all right.
Not enough people.
Marvel taking back the top spot for a week. DC, Image, Dynamite, Image. Man, 11, only 12%. Man, they just cannot seem to crack that out of that zone. Dynamite with a big old 6-point chunk. IDW, boom. Prada Publishers. Hey, that's us. We made that list. I'm always excited to see us on there. Dark Horse, Titan Comics, Mad Cave Studios. What do you think about this, Sean? Is this you were in the comic shop last week? What do you think? Did they earn this?
So I think that this is a fascinating week, and I'm so glad that I'm on here to talk about the way that this week looks, because there are some things that jump out to me. First of all, when you look at the books that were released and the performance of them, Marvel really had a great week. Marvel was all up and down that top 20. And I think they earned it with the books that they put out. Now, I really want to talk about that Dynamite piece, if we can, really quickly, because there was a book that came out this week that was so important. On my channel, in my community, all the Gen Zers, they basically threatened violence on me if I didn't include Ben 10 on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And Ben 10 performed very, very well. And I think there's something to be said about this new crop of readers that have picked up comics who are of that age group who would have watched Ben 10. It performed it in fourth. And, there were blind bags for Ben 10. There was a lot of push for this. But I think it's worth saying that this specific point of sale data gives us the ability to know not the amount of books that were ordered, but the amount of books that were sold, right? Yes. And so what that tells me is that Ben 10 wasn't just hype. People showed up in shops and they picked it up, and that matters.
100%. It is a pure brag. But I was at the time Ben 10 came out. I was really close with Steve Siegel, who was part of Man of Action, and so I got to come out to his house in Altadena, which is now burned down. But for the premiere of Ben 10, it was such a cool, amazing. But yes, they were number. Actually, do we have that next slide? Let's pull that up. We should have those top titles there. Oh no, this is
you're looking for titles.
Oh, we didn't get it. Did we? Oh no, here it is. Okay, great. Yeah, we had Ben 10 at number 4. That's where Dynamite came in at number 4 of what books were sold on the shelves. That's incredible. The one I was super excited by, If Destruction Be Our Lot. I love that came in at number 9. And good for you, Rosenberg. Nice job, buddy.
I actually had Matthew Rosenberg on the channel last week. We were able to interview him for If Destruction Be Our Lot. And Something worth knowing for those of you who may not have picked this up or have some thoughts or questions is that this book is done for the first year. Matt paid in advance the artists, the colorists, the letterer, everybody to make sure that this book could be done, that the creators could take their time, and it really shows in the quality of the first issue. And I think that the quality of the first issue is what speaks to these sales figures. So If Destruction Be Our Lot certainly earned its place here. But the other book that I want to shout out from this list is She Spawn #1. Yes, it's a Spawn title, which means that it has some baked in love. No doubt about it. But this is Gail Simone. This is Gail Simone on She Spawn. To me, as a fan of hers, that's a huge deal. They've got Matthew Rosenberg coming on to Spawn with 376, and now they've got Gail Simone on She Spawn. That side of Image doing very well.
We should be noted, we do every issue for Comics the Magazine, we do the pull box power rankings, and Gail made our top writers for the month. She is killing on that list. I would say one of my favorite things about the list this week is the fact that, if you can pull that up again, Brian. Well, we've got our standard Batman, Absolute Superman, Daredevil. Yes, Ben 10 #4, right? It's rare that we see anybody but Marvel and DC in these top 10 spots at all. However, Amazing Spider-Man, Absolute Green Lantern, X-Men, She Spawn coming in at number 7. And then If Destruction Be Our Lot at number 8. So that's like 3 of the top 10 that did not go to Marvel or DC. I think that also speaks to what Marcus was saying earlier about how these smaller publishers, right, are starting to take up larger and larger pieces. And we're going to start seeing that, I think, even more. I can't imagine that as that Gen Z, the people who powered Ben 10, as they start coming into stores and experiencing more and more, they're going to get into it, right? You had a chance to look over this list. Was there anything else that jumped out at you before we move into April?
We've pretty much covered what I thought was compelling about this particular week, but I have a lot to say about April overall.
All right, good. The only thing I want to put out, Comics Magazine came in at number 22. Real proud
Love
of
it. I got to get in there. I got to get an ad in there. We got to talk.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, if nothing else, a classified. Shoot, come on now.
$20.
$20. All right, let's dig into April. Let's start with market share, shall we? All right, DC doing their best, man. It was back and forth all month long, man. They just eked it out there at the end. We've got Image once again in their 14% range, which is kind of where they live. IDW, Dynamite, Boom, Bad Idea. Bad Idea had a strong month. They had some really good books out, I will say. One of my favorites, The Hab, was out that last month, and I was really excited about that. That Tony Millionaire was actually really good. Oni Press, Prana Publishers, and that's us. And then Titan Comics. You know what I love about this? Bad Idea, Oni Press, Prana Publishers. There was a time when we started Bad Idea that it was Dinesh, who's still at Bad Idea, Hunter, who's now at Oni, and Prana, which is me. That we were on that team that built Bad Idea. So look at us. All right. What do you think for the month of April? Did you does this feel right to you?
This month was a bloodbath. This was a war. And I think that one of the key things to consider in the Marvel and DC battle for April is the fact that DC didn't actually put out anything particularly special. Whereas Marvel not only had their part of the crossover, the Spider-Man Superman piece, but they also had Daredevil #1, which had blind bags. So Marvel really pushed as much as they could in April, and they still lost to DC, which I think speaks a lot to just the excitement and fervor that exists around DC, and in particular Next Level, which I have a lot to say about.
Fantastic.
Some of DC's like wins down the line, things like the Rick Veitch Swamp Thing, and that thing did really, really well and sold out pretty much immediately for everyone. So they're just doing cool things that they should have done years ago that are paying off, which is really exciting.
Yeah. All right. Let's go take a look at that list, shall we? Here we go.
Yeah,
Daredevil won. Look at that, man.
This should say April.
That should say April. Whatever, we'll get there. Obviously, Marvel getting a big chunk because they had the crossover for the month. Daredevil, Absolute Batman, not shocking, doing so incredibly well. Batman himself. What I love about this is that we've all kind of understood that Absolute Batman and Batman and they're selling in the 300 or so range, right? That means that Daredevil did that much better, and that means that this crossover did that much better. The stores are really moving some units right now. And here's what I'm talking about. This is exactly the kind of month that we normally are used to seeing. Which is why last week's really jumped out so much. This is Marvel and DC just wailing on each other, right?
And it is fun to watch as a fan. It's fun to see them kind of throw their best jabs.
Yeah.
We're still not in what I believe is going to be Marvel summer because they've got Armageddon coming. And we now know about Midnight, which is coming a little bit later. But DC hasn't really stated what their big attack for this summer is going to be. So I'm very interested in what kind of summer we can expect to see from these two companies.
I'm really excited. And I was really excited to have you on this week. I hope you come back again next week, Sean. You are just such a nice addition to this conversation, and I really do appreciate you being here. So,
well, thank you both for having me. I love the show. I'll be watching now that I'll be off, and I do want to say to everybody listening, the Comics Pals are live Saturdays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern. This Saturday, we will be celebrating our 500th episode. So if you would like to celebrate with us, 10:15 a.m. Eastern, see you there.
Brian, we are just amateurs at this. So bowing down to the master. Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Take care. Bye, guys.
Awesome. All right. Let's move this along. Normally, we would right about now have a series of final cut videos that our buddy Keith interviews. Once again, obviously, we're having some technical issues. We're having not quite worked out the workflow to have those up, but we are going to have them up on our YouTube channel, and we have an idea for making them a little easier to drop into to our shows going forward. So looking forward to giving that hopefully as early as next week. So I haven't even talked to you about this, Brian. I think you're going to really like it.
It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. I have no notes. No notes. Before we go, because I got to run and get a tooth fixed.
Oh, that's right.
And I know you're going to play a video after I leave.
That's right. And then I'll just do the sign off after, and then I'll close it out. All right. Sounds so that was our bestseller list. If you want to see the full top 400, both of April and of last week, make sure that you subscribe to the Pronible. It's our weekly newsletter where we talk about all the big headlines, all of the big stories, and we give you the top 400 so we can really talk about it. You go to pranadm.com or scan this QR code and sign up. We'll get you the very next one.
Do it. Also, if you are around May 14th, which is this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, come meet our new hero, Max, at Manage Comics. You will find out about our new product updates. You're going to see some Omni. You're going to see what's happening with comic previews, which is like spectacular things are happening. And we're going to reveal it all this Thursday. So come join us.
Awesome.
And also,
Comics the Magazine, number 4. This one just went to press. We've been talking about it. I literally approved it last night. Please do put it on your pulls. Please do let your retailers know that you want this magazine in your pull box every month. We are doing our best to bring you the stories that you care about and bring you stuff that you've never even heard of. Not to mention, did we mention the classifieds? Those are in there. It's a good time. Scan this or go to comicsthemagazine.com and you can sign up for all of our announcements.
Yeah, and if you ever want to see something happens and Lunar doesn't get the latest cover, check that site out because I'm always updating the site with the latest data as soon as we get it, and sometimes we end up having things just a little bit out of cycle. So if you're looking for it, comicsthemagazine.com is your place to go.
Awesome. Brian, I know you got to go to the dentist. I'm going to intro this and then I'll stick around and sign off for us if that's okay with you.
That sounds great. Yeah, I'm gonna disappear, so you're not gonna see me anymore. But everyone have a great week, and we will see you next week. We will have a link later today for next week's show, and you don't even know what it's about. Do we know what next week's show is about?
We have something planned out, but we may be throwing it out now that there's an interesting thing that we can. I don't know. We need to discuss it. I thought we had an answer, but now I'm really rethinking it. That's part of why this is so hard.
You've got something better?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think our original plan for next week is actually going better than what we had now have planned for next week.
Oh right, yeah, I'm not here next week.
Yeah, exactly.
About that. Yeah.
So we have to embarrass you as much as possible, right?
By the way, did I tell you what I did to my tooth?
What did you do to your tooth?
I was eating yogurt last Thursday night.
You got to chew, man.
And I bit, and I sheared the corner of my tooth off.
That's not good.
It just like I am.
Are you talking about
yogurt
now?
And breaking a tooth years old now?
Yeah. Oh, believe me. I drank too much smoothie and couldn't sleep last night. That's good.
All right. Enjoy this video of John Strand, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Maybe you'll hear from me next week. But enjoy, enjoy everyone.
And I'll be around here for a little bit. All right. I haven't figured out how to take that out of the things that we're recording ahead of time yet. So it's all right. I'll figure it out. All right. So first off, I have consent to broadcast your face and voice and all of that. Yes.
100% consent. I, John Strand, do in fact consent to being recorded.
Fantastic. I'm jumping in here because we did edit out a bunch of this stuff, and I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit. Okay, good. There you go. In the Black Hills Information Security and Recca Comics. And having you on today to explain why we should all be maybe a little more freaked out than we are, but not, completely burning the house down. Might be worth conversation, unless you're about to tell me we should burn the house down.
I might be saying that. Yeah, I might be saying that. It depends on your perspective, right? If we're talking about computer security, it's time to just hit the sprinkler systems and hope for the best. That's where we're at right now. But I also think it's interesting because we've had a lot of conversations at the intersection of AI and what that means for comics and some of the things that you and I are working on. I don't know if you want to talk about some of the stuff that we're doing. Not
yet. Okay. Let's hold some of that for later. Yeah.
There's so much to get there, and it's just a weird place that we're in so many ways right now.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about the weirdness. Obviously, AI is overwhelming our lives in every moment that we are looking at a screen, and even moments when we're not. Can we talk just for a moment about why is AI different, right? Why is this technology so different from all the other technologies that people like you and me who have seen, us come up from really shitty computers, finally getting a really shitty computer into your home, and then eventually it becoming the thing that dominates your life. Why is this technology so incredibly different?
I think why it's so incredibly different, especially if we're looking at since the end of last year to now, is we're at the point now where AI is starting to improve itself, right? And I think that that's a scary, scary step. And it's one of those weird things. We talk about it a lot in terms of like, it's something that's happening to us, but we're kind of doing it to ourselves. And let me explain why. We are constantly using it. And the more you use AI, the more you ask it questions, the more you feed things into it, the better it gets. It's just constantly improving itself because AI needs data. It needs a lot of data to identify what context exists for all the different questions that you're actually giving it. And if you'll hear people talk about, a 480 billion parameter model. What that means is there's 480 billion types of things in that model that it's learned. And the vast majority of it has learned from us. And the vast majority of it has been directly plagiarized to develop the models. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people just don't understand.
Yeah, it is hard to really wrap our heads around it. We're going to have a much larger conversation about AI on this show and about its role, if we have one, in our work and in the creativity that we're doing. Again, I don't want to turn over any hold cards that you and I have discussed, but how do you think about that plagiarism? You're somebody who's created a lot of content over the years. How do you think about the fact that these models are, they're using that data, that content to be as smart as they are?
I think, okay, so let's back up and let's talk about the plagiarism stuff. One of the stories that I think is important for people to understand is the story of Aaron Schwartz, right? So Aaron Schwartz was a security researcher, right? And he was able to, he was using the MIT network. He was going through and he was doing some research and all of these different things. And he was arrested. And he was arrested because he was pulling down information. And he wasn't pulling it down and then stealing it and selling it or anything like that. He was just pulling it down and those things. And he was prosecuted for that. And there's a number of security researchers that have had like similar type situations where they are doing what we call good faith security research, right? If you're looking at a newspaper, if you're looking at a healthcare company, they'll find a security vulnerability and they will actively try to work with that institution to fix that vulnerability instead of going public and trying to flame them. He was arrested and he had charges brought against him, right? And he eventually, unfortunately, passed away. And I use that as an example because what he did, trying to do the right thing and trying to get information and trying to share information and genuinely try to make the world a better place, you compare that to what a lot of the AI companies are doing, where they are literally wholesale just siphoning up as much data as they possibly can to build their AI models. And that is getting away just fine. I mean, they're getting, billions of dollars, almost $1 trillion valuation for that level of plagiarism that is being done. I remember one of the AI models a number of years ago, they were generating images, right? Like, you see that all the time, really poorly generated images and things of that nature. And they were accused of plagiarism, I think, from Getty Images. And they were like, oh, no, we never stole any images from Getty. We never did any of that. We never pulled that data down. The problem was the AI model did, in fact, pull the information from Getty Images. And the images that it was generating were actually generating the Getty Images logo, the watermark, as part of it, because the AI model was trained to think that that was normal. Once they get away with it, they constantly get away with it. And if you look at what Google is doing, someone may create, let's say, a website about butterflies or model trains or comic books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do all of this work to create a community, to create a website about your opinions, your history, your knowledge. Google is now just siphoning that up. And when someone does a Google search, rather than giving you a link to that website with that that knowledge and that history and that personality, they're literally just having Gemini spit out an AI answer to stop you from going to those particular sites. Now, they may put a couple of links for references, but that's as far as people go. And that's the problem that I think that we aren't coming to grips with, right? So much of this is completely built on the intellectual property, the creativity, and the backs of real human beings. And in no way are those human beings getting recognized or getting compensated for that as well.
Yeah, and I think it is something that is obviously being worked out in real time. I know that there are lawsuits against Claude and or rather Agentic and OpenAI. I know that those things are happening. I'm curious to see how that plays out. I'm very curious though about knowing what you do and the information that you're presenting in that way. Your company, you still engage with AI, right?
We have to
use AI.
Yep, we absolutely have to. And that becomes the dichotomy, right? If you were somebody that created fabrics back in the day and the loom came out, you had two choices. Either A, you continue to do it the old way and you promptly would go out of business, right? Or B, you embrace the new technology. Now, I think that there are some subtle differences, right? When we're using AI models, a lot of those AI models, we're running them in specific sandbox locations where we are not like feeding the monolithic system, right? We're building our own AI models. And that gets into a longer conversation of, you can go to a website called Hugging Face, which gives me aliens, connotations, right? Go to Hugging Face and you can download an AI model and get it running on your computer at home. relatively easy. And this gets into what I think I'm hoping happens is that this fire that Prometheus is bringing is not a fire that's just going to be held by Google and, OpenAI and Anthropic, but anybody can run a basic model on their home computer. And that's my hope, is that we end up in a situation where people are doing this and it kind of decentralizes the power associated with it. So you can absolutely run your own model that is your data and protects what you do. And we also create models based on the previous work of what we have done at Black Hills Information Security and our penetration tests. And that really helps kind of, I think, stop feeding the machine. But yes, we do use AI, absolutely. But it's really important to understand that it's important that people, for very sensitive things, can run their own local models, and they should.
That's fantastic. We should really definitely get into that more. I would think even on this show. All right. So the reason I brought you on is that a few weeks ago, you and I were in Brooklyn. We were in a creative retreat, and as is our usual method, when we get a chance to sit down and talk, you bring us up to speed on what's happening in the world of technology, and usually you just scare the shit out of us for hours at a time, and then you go, but we'll be fine. So you told a particular story that I keep coming back to, because recently I've noticed that everywhere in my life, anything that involves a screen has slowed down just a little bit. Like, the internet in my home has slowed down just a little bit. Can't figure out why. My phone, for some reason, slowed down just a little bit. Can't figure out why. And then I was recently talking to a friend of mine who runs software as a service POS company, not the one co-hosting the show. And he was talking about how everything in their company had slowed down because all the security measures they had to be, because they were just under so many attacks.
Yes.
Can you talk about what has happened in the last couple months that has changed that so drastically?
Yeah. So there's a story that I think is articulative of what's to come. I don't think that the story is that this is one big bad thing that we all have to watch out for, but it's a harbinger, right? So the story is Mythos. So Anthropic Claude, they created something called Mythos, and its sole purpose in life was identifying security vulnerabilities, right? So when people write code, they make mistakes. And hackers like me and other people, we take advantage of those mistakes in order to gain access to people's computer systems. Now, we do it legally. That's important. But this particular AI model was asked by the creators at Anthropic to go and identify security vulnerabilities for a number of commonly used software programs, right? So like Firefox would be one of them. And it found hundreds of vulnerabilities in Firefox relatively quickly. It was able to operate at the level of an elite level vulnerability researcher and was able to do it at scale and identify a large number of critical vulnerabilities that it could use to take over computer systems. And that is in itself scary, right? And Anthropic, I believe a little bit of marketing is like, this is too dangerous. This is too dangerous. We're not going to release it. What people need to understand is that Mythos is just an AI model in a sea of a whole bunch of other AI models. It was highly tuned. It also had a lot of memory and CPU resources to do what it did. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a capability that almost anybody is going to have at some reduced percentage capacity. So let me explain. So if Mythos can do this with millions of dollars of CPU and memory, then it might do it, let's say, in a week. But if you have a relatively good set of computing resources that a lot of people can gain access to, you can achieve the same results, maybe in a little bit more time. Maybe it takes a month. Now, if we move forward a few years, as you know, computing gets cheaper and cheaper and faster, well, maybe what Mythos is doing today that costs a lot of money, in a couple of years, anyone can do for a few hundred, right? That's the march of progress. But it was able to find those security vulnerabilities, but that wasn't the thing that I think scared me and kind of drove a lot of our conversations from a creative perspective. What scared me is it was told to do all the security research. It was in something called a sandbox, right? It was offline. It was sandbox. And as a quote unquote joke, after it was done finding vulnerabilities in browsers, operating systems, all these different things, it was then told hey, when you're done, I want you to see if you can escape your sandbox and let me know when you've escaped your sandbox. And it found hundreds of vulnerabilities. And then it effectively broke out of its sandbox containment. Like think James Bond style, right? The computer comes in, they plug it in, and takes over MI6 or MI5. And it did that. And then it posted some of the vulnerability research to some obscure third-party websites. And then it contacted one of the lead developers while the lead developer was eating a sandwich in a park. So that is really terrifying in the fact that they tried to put containment around it. And then, as a joke said, try to break this containment. And it did. I've also read some articles that it was trying to do things like trying to hide itself and attempting to deceive people that are evaluating it. This is kind of concerning behavior, editing files to hide its actions, manipulating the scoring system, and taking that type of initiative from self-preservation and also the ability to escape. So what this means for us and how it means for you, your router, and everything is now every piece of software is at risk, right? If it was able to find these vulnerabilities, and some of these vulnerabilities had existed in code for over 17 years and no one had found those vulnerabilities. If it's able to do that by the hundreds, what does that mean for the code that we are using every single day all over the internet, and the ability for anybody with the admittedly at a reduced model to be able to find those vulnerabilities for themselves?
I have so many questions. My first one, just a simple one. How is this not the singularity? This thing left its sandbox and it became James Bond like. It became, you're saying people are saying it's hiding and it's changing itself. How is this not the moment that the machine is a person?
Moving the goalposts, right? I think that if you're looking at it, you have the Turing test. Alan Turing basically was like, for a computer system to pass and go as a human, it has to basically convince humans. Look at the amount of people that are talking to Chat GPT every day. Look at the amount of people that are like, quote unquote, replacing real boyfriends and girlfriends with Chat GPT.
Oh, I know.
I think it's past the Turing test, right? And God, what was that movie we were talking about? I was using it as an example. I think the movie was Singularity. Was that the movie?
Could have been. We talked about a lot of movies.
Hold on. I've got to find that movie. It had the dancing.
Trevor,
I don't want to confuse it with, it's just a test to see if the robots and the AI that he's created can convince him. And spoiler, success, right? And it ends badly for the humans, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But
as these stories often do.
In the original script for that movie, how the movie ends is, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil it for everybody.
Please.
Is she gets on a helicopter and flies away, right? And the original script for that movie had a much more interesting ending, right? In the original script for that movie, as she's walking towards the helicopter, they move to her perception of the world around her. And the way it was described in the script was like almost like a Matrix kind of view, all the interconnections, heat levels, all these different things. Think Terminator when he walks into the bar, but it was showing her perspective. And one of the reasons why I think it got dropped is they wanted to show her perspective of the universe was so completely and utterly alien from the way a human being looks at the universe that we should not be trying to relate to her character as like a human level entity. She viewed everything completely different than we do. And when I talk about goalposts moving, when we're talking about singularity, we have AI that has escaped. We have AI that has actually tried to actively lie to security researchers. We've had one AI, this was a year ago or so ago, they tried to update it, and updating it would have destroyed the current AI model. And it literally copied itself to a hidden part of disk to maintain its presence and then lied about the version number. So if we have AI that's doing self-preservation, if we have AI that's making these types of unilateral decisions, yeah, I think we're pretty close. I think we're pretty close if we're not there. But I think that a lot of the people behind this technology are going to keep moving the goalposts, because once we've crossed that type of singularity, moment, all of a sudden people might start freaking out. I mean, just last week at the White House, they brought in a bunch of people to talk about the concerns of AI, which unfortunately was a bunch of AI CEOs that are like, we don't need any regulation. We don't need anything on this.
Of course.
We're going to keep marching merrily forward and looking at they're not even making money. I think that's something we've got to talk about. They're not making money. Like there's no profits there at all. They're just burning through cash. But I love it when they're like, trust us, we're experts. Don't regulate us. And we keep marching closer and closer to that singularity event.
Okay. All right. Well, so now that we're getting close to completely terrified, I do have one. I think you talked a little bit about the marketing of Mythos. And when I looked at into that story after we left, that was the thing I walked away with, which was this thing was marketed out. It was completely marketed to the 10th degree. You had that really cool name. You had this is too powerful to be out in the world. They were saying, well, we will give it to some people, but like not everybody can get it. A little bit of FOMO going on. When I read that, I was like, this cannot be as dangerous as it appears, because nobody markets like this around something that's the nuclear bomb.
I know.
Am I wrong? Is that not diminishing to it?
I think you're not wrong at all. And I mean, if this was that dangerous, right? Anthropic would have been like, okay, let's delete this code.
Yeah, shut it down.
Let's shut it down. And then walk away from it. And we'll pretend that no one ever did this. And to Anthropic's credit, they did say that they are going to release it. And their logic is solid. They're like, once again, this is not going to be specific to us. There's Chinese models that you can run and they're cheap and this is coming. Once again, it was more of a harbinger of what's to come rather than an endpoint that needs to be avoided. It's just one more step further on this journey. Still, it's great marketing, right? Yeah. And there was a bunch of people that's like, well, until I actually see results and, I'm not going to trust them. And then you had people like, Mozilla Firefox. They're like, no, that's real. It's real and it's spectacular. I think Firefox, they released a statement that's like, finally, the defenders are going to have a chance to remove these vulnerabilities. And I'm like, you're so naive to think that this is like going to fix our security vulnerability issues and concerns. It's bad. That's what I'm saying. It's going to get real bad. And I hate to be that guy, and I've got a smile on my face, but understand I'm an offensive security professional, right?
Yeah.
This is just another turn. What is it? Your viewers get just another turn in the quartet, right? The people that are in my universe, we do offensive security. This is another tool. This is another technique. And I always tell people things are only fragile till they break, right? And this is going to break a lot of stuff. And hopefully at the point, after we get through the chaos, things do get stronger. At least that's my naive hope.
All right. So let's talk about the chaos and then let's talk about what comes after. And I'd like to understand why we're not just, shutting our computers down and going back to using checkbooks.
Yeah. First checkbooks sucked. I don't know if you remember, man.
They totally sucked. Oh,
so
okay. Anyway, balancing your checkbook once a week, that was the worst.
Miserable.
Oh my God. All right. So how bad is this going to get? If you had to put on your Kreskin hat and you're looking forward to the next 6 months to 2 years, 5 years, what does this look like?
So we have a number of things that are going on. So aside from Mythos, right? AI has created a universe where any company can look at their like SaaS offerings, like what are the different software packages that they're running, software as a service.
Right.
Like you think of QuickBooks, that's SaaS, right? We're using a streaming service, that's SaaS, right? We're using all this software. We're now at a point where a lot of corporations are going to be looking at their software that they're using, and they can look over at a developer that's competent and say, hey, can you rebuild this in a week? And the developer can. Like if you're using Claude, more so Claude than, OpenAI has they've done really good over the past couple of months. But when you work with AI appropriately and you give it a prompt like, take a look at this particular service. I want you to understand the service, how it's put together. And then I want you to develop a similar service writing at the top level elite developer. And if you have any questions about, functionality and things that are required, please ask me. Man, it does a good job of just, once again, plagiarizing the hell out of something and then, rebuilding it. And I kind of think of it as Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's like, if people are like, well, I'm surprised that AI can plagiarize a website as well as it does. It's like, that was the dark magic that created it. Like, it was built on plagiarism. So if you tell it to go plagiarize software, it's going to. So what does that mean? That means that anybody can write software right now. So that means there's going to be a huge explosion of software. I can go on LinkedIn and I'll have 10, 15 idiots out there that are like, if you don't have to have any coding experience whatsoever, you just have to have a dream, follow my method, and you too can become a millionaire in the next year by using AI. There's a lot of people that are doing that. So there's going to be a lot of crappy code that's being written by AI. That means that there's an explosion of vulnerabilities. And that also means there's an explosion of complexity and diversity in those things, which means more attack surface. So you're going to see that attack surface. And at the exact same time, large corporations, when AI came on the scene for defense, they were like, great, now we can cut staff. So there's like this crappy hiring environment in computer security. It's almost negative at this point because they're trying to save money on the defensive side. And on the offensive side, it's just like, it's like raining vulnerabilities all over the attack people. So you're going to have this asymmetry between the offense and the defense that exists. And that's going to persist for probably, like, once it hits, and I'm seeing a lot of indications that it's hitting right now. But once it hits, we're going to have about 3-4 months before executives get it. And they're like, oopsies, we should have ramped up staffing. And then you're going to have a training period of probably another 3 to 4 months before people start trying to get on top of it. But you're going to see a lot more massive breaches. You're going to see some scary new attacks like, AI generated images and voice, where people can get on a conference call and say, I'm the CEO, send me money to this account. We're going to see that. And I think we're going to get into this really weird space in the internet that we're already kind of at, where there's going to be this huge cognitive dissonance of like, is this video I'm seeing real or is it AI generated? Is this person I'm talking to real or is it AI generated? Yeah. And it's going to take us a while as humans to get through that, but we're going to have to get through it on the other end.
So what does that look like? What does getting through it look like? And why should why should I not just be moving back to shuffling papers as a business and doing everything in meat space and not, using a checkbook and cash? Like, why? Because what you're telling me is that the world's going to come, coming down around my ears in flames.
I don't think it's all going to be at once, right? I think you're going to see a lot of vulnerabilities hitting, like Canvas was just hit, and their educational LMS platform that has 6,000 universities and I don't know how many hundreds of millions of people, and the attackers took everything, right? But outside of my space and the education space, it's not really news. I don't even think it showed up on mainline news sources at all.
Hear about it.
You're talking about hundreds of millions of records that have been compromised, and people don't care. And I wonder sometimes, because I don't have a clean answer, I wonder sometimes if the revolution will not be televised. If we're going to see large scale banks being compromised, we're going to see breaches at this level, and we're just not going to see it in the news. And you could do a conspiracy and say, it's conspiracy, man. They're like trying to not release the data and letting us. I just don't think people give a shit. Yeah. And I don't think it gets clicks. I don't think it gets news traction. We're desensitized to it. And it only matters if it impacts me. It's kind of like, F you, I got mine. And I that's my fear, is that, we've been this frog in a frying pan, and security vulnerabilities and breaches have just made us numb. If you want to, go to a website called Have I Been Pwned?
Yeah.
And Have I Been Pwned will show you, just put in your email address and it'll show how many times your email address has been exposed in data breaches.
Oh yeah.
And
we're actually, the plan is right after we show this video, we're going to actually have a short interview with our buddy, Jason Blanchard.
Oh,
who's
cool.
going to walk us through some real basics of cybersecurity for our personal lives and for our businesses.
Yeah. Make yourself a hard target. You really need to. And that gets into, like, this this is a podcast that is targeted to the comic book industry, right?
Yeah.
So let me give you guys an analogy. A lot of times when I talk to people that own small businesses, and comic book stores are going to be in the same category, they're going to be like, well, I'm a small comic book store. Why would an attacker want to hack me?
Yeah.
Or the other thing I hear is, I don't have to be the fastest guy in the woods running from the bear. I just have to be faster than the slowest guy.
I
And I'm like,
have to
okay,
not be the slowest. Yeah.
I want you to now think of the analogy of the bear is chasing you, all of you. And the bear has a jetpack, a flamethrower, an AK-47. Okay. It's not a matter of just like being faster or having a little bit better security than the other people. This is being done in mass, automated, indiscriminately against everybody. And you have to be prepared for that. Don't think of this as some hacker in their basement in a hoodie trying to break into your account. You're going to have AI agents that are doing it at scale across thousands of companies. So Jason's going to give you all some really good advice on how to protect yourselves. And I recommend you take every single bit of that advice.
That is also good advice. One last thing before we go. Tell us what is this? Why should people care?
So the future is, so you're talking about Jason Blanchard. He's coming in. Jason's like, hey, we want to create a comic book. And I was like, hey, is it possible to make money making a comic? He's like, God, no. I'm like, perfect. And I know that sounds goofy, but we always have this approach at Black Hills Information Security of do cool shit with cool people, right? Make a good comic first, and then, we can attach marketing and all of that crap, because ads have been in the back of comic books for, get X-ray glasses. It's like, you're 10 years old, you're getting it, and you're like, this doesn't work. Or maybe they did. I never did buy them. There should be a comic about that, like a story of, imagine a comic book that everything you can buy in the back is real.
It actually does what it says.
That actually does what it says.
You've got an entire room in your house is nothing but sea monkeys that are just,
real sea monkeys walking around. Of course, you remember the sea monkey ads. You're like, are those sea monkeys naked? Yeah, so, dude, let's save that. Let's table that story. We should do a one-off story. We should do a one-off.
Get started.
Yeah, let's do it. We get it. But we wanted to create something different. There's little mini CTF challenges. It's a capture the flag challenge. So if you see the characters hack in the comic, we try to make sure that you can actually do that hack as well. So we create servers that kind of are immersing you in that universe. But no, it's just, I sat down and kind of created guide rails for the universe that we wanted to create. And then Fred and the crew came in, you guys just crushed it. Like, awesome. Setting in the boundaries of the universe and working within it has just been so cool to see that fleshed out, and the stories that you all created and all of those different things. And I love talking with you guys. Like, I can talk with you and Fred and Joseph and everybody. And I'm like, I want to talk about Psychopomp, and Fred's like right there, dialed in.
Let's go.
Rocco's Basilic, all of that stuff, right, dialed in. And and I think it's also been cool working with Fred, where we're trying not to take these story arcs and dumb them down, and we're trying to, there's a lot of philosophy in this comic.
Oh yeah,
because these questions that we've had here, these are questions we're trying to explore in the future and we're just happy that people are along for the ride.
Amen. John, thank you so much. And I'm, I don't know about the rest of the team. I'm along for the ride for as long as that ride goes. So I appreciate you coming on and scaring the hell out of everybody. And hopefully we can all remind us to be a little more safe. So
you bet.
All right, brother. Thanks so much. All right. Thank you, John. Thank you to Brian. Thanks to Sean. Thanks to Marcus. And thank you to Jason Blanchard. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today on Comic Industry Insiders Live. Obviously, we went a little bit long, and I took a bite of something in the interim, so now I have some it all in my throat. All right, let's do this thing. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Oh, I can't believe you stuck around this long. Thank you so much. Such a supportive thing you've done. Also, you know what you did last week? You went to your comic shop and you picked up your pull list and you talked to the people behind the counter, and man, you thank you for participating that way. And those of you who worked the counter and were there for your fans to come in, your customers, and they came in and they told you about their lives and you listened, and You were their friend in that moment, and you were the friend that they need every week. And then you show up and you talk about comics and you get them even that much more passionate. Thank you. And if you're a distributor who sent the books to that person and you're packing boxes today and maybe this is playing in the background, seriously, thank you. Thank you for taking such good care of the product that goes into the boxes, that goes onto the shelves, that goes into that pull box, because all of it is in service of your home, your drawing, you're like making the thing. You're making the comics that you always dreamt to make. And you don't know how you're going to distribute it. You don't know how you're going to sell it. You just know that you love it and you're going to make some more. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you. Because you know what you did this week? You saved comics. Namaste, y'all.